Welcome back to the Card Floppers Podcast, your home for casual and kitchen table Magic the Gathering content. I'm your host, Alex. Tonight I am joined by Kota
Yo.
and Jambrose.
Hey guys.
We're doing a quick snafu kind of podcast tonight and for this week where we are looking to begin putting our podcasts on YouTube just as a format and a platform that a lot of people listen to their content while they're at home, while they're not on the go necessarily, at work, all that good stuff. So we figured it was time to put our podcasts up on YouTube and to do kind of like a special YouTube kickoff episode, as well as release this episode on our other podcast platforms. So a very broad kind of topic tonight is going to be discussing how we use YouTube for our casual Magic the Gathering content, as well as all facets of that: gameplay, deck building, accessories, the whole 9 yards, and some channels that we really want to focus on, as well as talk about what we plan to have as a display while these podcasts are going on. We're not doing any video webcams or anything as we're recording our podcasts, especially right now with Death Touch 2020. So what are we going to potentially do? And I think that's where Kota's going to really come in, and she's got some ideas, and we're looking for your feedback as well. So let's get right into it. So YouTube, the biggest online thing ever, right, guys?
Yeah, pretty much. It's it's kind of a big deal.
That's a small way of putting it. I mean,
Yeah.
we came from a time, I don't know, when YouTube wasn't a thing, so it's such a staple now, but it really revolutionized a lot of digital industries. So
Yeah, it's been incredible, and where we've decided to take Card Floppers out to a more public setting with doing the podcast and doing some online YouTube content. Kota's doing a series of unboxing videos. We're really looking forward to Jambrose doing a series of some streaming stuff, deck building, digital gameplay, all that good jazz. So it's time for us to really dive in. But I've been watching YouTube stuff since it really came out, and it wasn't until I feel like more recently than not, Magic the Gathering content became huge on YouTube, and it's um, so much better for being able to obtain your Magic the Gathering content on all facets. If you're doing competitive stuff, if you're doing just kind of casual play, if you're deck brewing, there's so many ideas out there that you can get from people. So, Jambrose, who do you kind of watch on a regular basis? If you have somebody on the regular basis that you would say is your kind of your biggest YouTube channel that you either subscribe to or you follow on a regular basis and you check out?
I mean, kind of in reverse of that, most recently, like since Death Touch 2020, I've honestly been doing a lot of the Magic Historian. Early on, I thought he would I was like, well, who is this guy? What is this guy? But I've been doing some of his live streams and his videos, and I don't know if it's just that we've been kind of connecting in the whole quarantine life. But I found him to be very personable, a very crass look at Magic, which is a little refreshing. He's definitely not endorsed by Wizards of the Coast at all, and he's kind of, I feel like, came from where we are right now. Like he's just got like a kind of homemade setup that he does his thing, and he's got people that are following and listening and viewing, and uh, it's been nice to kind of see where we could potentially be. Obviously, in a very different style and theme and point purpose to what we do, but he's been very interesting recently.
Yeah, he's awesome. The Magic Historian. He started out, I think, with like a channel that was just like the fifth color of Magic or something like that, and it goes back to the days when they were talking about purple becoming like the next
Yep.
color for Magic. And he definitely hails from a time. I watch him as well, everybody, and he definitely comes from a time where you threw unsleeved cards on the concrete and played with them and had fun with it. And Commander is like a bastard format that like you shouldn't even touch or go near. Commander has the last name Snow, and you just you just leave it at that. Like you just Magic is meant to be played 60 card and in a 1v1 competitive situation.
Yep.
And yeah, he's cool. He's cool stuff for sure. Definitely very relaxed. Definitely has very strong opinions, but he does do an incredibly good job describing the cards and doing the lore, kind of like talking
Yep.
about what was going on with the storyline, and some of his summaries of like what I've gone to. He recently did one on like the newest book on Ikoria that Kota and I listened to for a long time, to kind of get like an idea of the book itself, that we thought was really good. We also coined him the ugliest man in the world. No offense to him, but he puts himself in that. He plays off of it because
Yeah.
he's got a mug on him, that, and he loves to distort his face for all of his little
Thumbnails and stuff.
thumbnails for sure. Yeah.
I was gonna
Well, I
ask
mean-
if he's the guy that makes bacon.
Yes.
Yes.
I was just gonna say some of his more recent things I've seen is just him in a skillet with some bacon or sausage. Yeah, that's totally him.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Uh,
Now, Coda, you don't necessarily watch a lot of Magic content on YouTube. I think if anything, you're being like your eyes pried open by me, and I'm trying to tell you like, you gotta watch how this deck functions. Like watch this now. And you could really care less. So
Well, because I have like, so when it comes to Magic, like when you really get into what everything goes down, like if we're sitting in the car or something, and you just like start going on about like this card does this and this and this and this and this and that, and then it affects this, and then you have this card that does this, and then this, unless I'm physically seeing it, not like I'm going to be able to keep up with it anyway, like I just glaze over. So listening to other people talk about it and everything, I can't do it. It's the same thing as like I was never good in school because I could not sit there and have people talk at me, because I zone out and I could care less. So I'm more of a like I have to do it myself in order to learn it kind of thing.
yeah, for sure.
So
But I mean, you enjoy like all the aesthetic ones. Like I know that you've really enjoyed listening to some of like the professor, where they do like we're talking about the Tolarian Community College. They've done those almost like a live radio broadcast of a storyline in Magic the Gathering or something like that.
yeah, I like watching like when he has the cosplayers come on and stuff.
Yes.
And he's like counseling them, quote unquote. I like that
Yeah.
as a cosplayer myself. I love seeing them. So
Right.
those ones catch my interest. Definitely, like I'll watch the professor more so than anyone else. But I can't like sit there and watch other people play a game, the Magic either, because I'm just like, oh my god, why?
Yeah, I think that's fine too, because there is that audience too, to try to, especially for us casual players, to really tap into. With you're going off of more of the aesthetics of the card, and
Yeah, I can
the
do.
artwork and the storyline. So that's the stuff that really you get into.
Yeah, like I can listen to the historian talk about lore of things, but eventually I will tune out because I
Right.
can't sit there, and that's why like you listen to podcasts religiously and watch them religiously, and I can't do it. I don't have the attention span. There's so many other things I could be doing, or just sitting in
Right.
silence, because I can, unlike you, I can sit in silence and be fine.
Hey. Let's not turn this into an episode of In Exile, okay?
What
This is
makes
still
Alex tilt? Sitting in silence.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, pretty
Exactly.
much. I can't do it. I can't. Little insight into my soul, everybody. I cannot do silence. Ask any of my college roommates. I force those poor souls to like listen to stuff, but to fall asleep, because if I have silence, it's not a happy time. Anyways, back to the podcast at hand. So so probably my favorite Magic the Gathering kind of channel that I am currently paying attention to on a regular basis would have to be the girls of Good Luck High Five. I've done or not done, but I've listened to so many over such a long period of time that I've gone through phases of like loving the professor at the Tolarian Community College, do the Command Zone guys, to limited resources with Marshall Sutcliffe. There's so many out there, but like for currently for what I'm doing and for what I'm interested in, Good Luck High Five is probably my favorite because they have such a relaxed approach to it, and like 99% of the time while they're doing their show, they're like their cats are involved, so they get distracted and they're like, I gotta take a picture of the cat real quick, and it's just like a fun casual level of things. And the girls are both really involved in the community. Maria is on the like the touring broadcasting network for Wizards, and Megan is a writer for Wizards of the Coast on articles and stuff. And they're crazy. They started out as Magic the Amateuring on the Tolarian Community College's page, and then after they got larger and larger and larger, they finally switched over and they started calling it Good Luck High Five. And they go over decks and they go over new stats. They always have like a nice pre-release thing where they have Judge Rob on, and Judge Rob is a very intelligent intelligence wrong. What am I trying to say? He's a very
Insightful.
insightful, informed judge. I think he's like in that top level of judges. He's like, kind of a thing. But they're pretty awesome at what they do.
I think outside of the historian going, I mean, like I definitely got the earlier days of my Magic YouTube life. I did some of like the professor, but I definitely have done a lot of, and I don't actually know his channel name. I want to say it's the cEDH channel, but there's the guy with the thick Russian accent that I
Oh
just
yeah.
I just he caught me with the way he says permanent. But
Okay, so first let's go over, because we've mentioned his name a bunch of times. We're talking about the professor.
yes,
So let's go into a good long discussion. So for any listeners out there who is just getting into Magic and you need some kind of a base place to start for looking around at content, because there's a lot of things out there, I would definitely recommend checking out the channel's name is the Tolarian Community College or whatever, and it's the professor is the guy. His name is, his real name is Brian, but he goes by the professor, and
You'll
he started.
you'll
his
know
name's Brian.
Yes, his name is Brian. Yeah.
you'll know if you found him because it always starts with many Magic the Gathering players, and you'll know you're in the right place.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If you've been listening to the podcast and you've heard Tiki talk, it's just imagine that, but just on the West Coast. And that's kind of what the professor is. So he started out doing unboxings with trying to find, unboxings and review of accessories to best help, um, people on a budget. What's the best bang for your buck for sleeves and stuff like that? And then slowly it grew from there. And now he kind of has the largest independent Magic the Gathering channel, but they love to do stuff about new players and inexpensive like stuff. He's like a big supporter of Pauper format, which is like all commons. So it keeps things very budget. He does do deck techs. He does different play style lessons and things like that. So he's done a ton of stuff to kind of give you a good place to kickstart. And he always throws like a comedic spin on things and does little skits. And he does some really good story times too about talking about it being a community based game and it being something you're supposed to do for fun. So
he
he's a great place to start.
he also has, going to like his stories and everything. He also has the stories about when he was um playing in other times, and to just not be that guy. So those are some good stories too, to just like kind of not be the D bag in the room, and he
Right.
owns it to be like, I was that guy. Sorry.
Yeah, true.
Well, and he's very easygoing, and like I've heard talk of all these YouTube people as far as what they're like in real life and everything, but like watching the channel, um, he seems like someone I would enjoy playing with, that I would enjoy sitting down and just going through cards with, and I think that made it very easy to connect with early on. Um, Obviously, he has some content that I'm not as into. Like, I don't do Popper. I
Right.
don't like. There's some of the formats that he does, but um, he's engaging and he's very personable, and that made it very easy to connect with. Um, and that's something that I kind of keep in mind when we're putting content together or starting to. Um, how can I be engaging and enjoyable?
Yeah, he definitely adds a nice personality spin on things. Now, if you're maybe you've been playing for a lot longer and you kind of have a good breakdown of the rules and you have a specific style of deck building that you like, he may not be his content may not be specifically geared towards you because even the professor would probably tell you he's not like a pro tour level competitive guy. He likes enjoying the content, but that's not his bread and butter. He just loves going down to the LGS, or I guess down to the kitchen at this point, and just playing some Magic and not getting too overly attached to it, but just having fun in his own way, and that's pretty much it. Um, so he does kind of have he's great for that starter and casual audiences for sure. And on the other end of the spectrum, like what Jambrose was talking about before I cut him off, we talked about the professor for a while. You have the guy who's on the cEDH channel, and that's just that as it is. It's C, the letters cEDH, and it stands for competitive EDH. And he's from Germany. He always gets his He's not Russian. He's from Germany. He always says permanent as opposed to permanent, and this guy is like, you think that card's good? Nope, get it out of here. It's not for cEDH. Like this is the worst card in the world, even though we might think that it's really strong. He's playing with all of the Kaladesh inventions. He's getting all the primo cards. He's got this the his main deck that he rocks that I see him play from time to time is actually quad sleeved. It's in 4 sleeves, and he needs like a fat pack bundle thing to actually shuffle the bastard. So,
Man,
uh,
like, wow, just I couldn't even fathom just like wrapping my hands around that. Like,
right, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a little insight. So this guy, he's got a Sisay combo deck, and Sisay is the Weatherlight Captain, the one where you can pay Wooburg and search for a legendary permanent and put it on the battlefield. Go to the first YouTube video if you want to see how that thing works. Because I think I played that deck in that, right? Anyways,
you played
yeah.
to say in the first, yeah, in the
yeah.
cockatrice game.
Okay. So, anyways,
Yeah.
he's got it in inner sleeves, and then in regular sleeves, and then he's got the third level over sleeves to protect the art sleeves, and then he has all of those in the hard plastic cases, Kota, like what we put our cards in that we want to keep nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has all of that. He has a 100 card deck that is then stood up in a fat pack box because it won't stand up on its own.
So extra.
So then he did little cutouts in the middle of the fat pack box. So when he shuffles, he can grab a pile and move it to the top or the bottom while he like holds it and does like a seesaw action. It's crazy. It's the most elaborate thing I've ever seen. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he had part of his video on just how he shuffles it. It was kind of funny.
oh, it's crazy. But what is good about him is this, like we were kind of talking about with the professor, or with the historian, is his channels are very not high production value. It is just a simple camera. He's basically got his tabletop behind him. He is working with what he has, and he's just pumping content out there. And it may not look the cleanest, but he's just all about putting that content out there for his viewers to watch. And I gotta respect the heck out of that for sure.
Well, and it's good quality content, even if like you said, it's not a high end camera. He doesn't have like a stage. I mean, like I've seen like off camera shots of the professor's room, and he's got like an entire basement room set up for like different areas of his scenes. And this
Right.
guy's like kind of like what I have set up in the basement right now, of like a table with some magic cards, a play mat, and like a backdrop of some sort that doesn't look like butt. Um, but he's putting out good quality content, and that's really what matters.
Yeah, and we're definitely trying to learn that. Like, it was very hard to start because I could especially with like card flopper stuff, I could constantly put that crutch of like, well, I gotta wait till I get that next camera and then I'll start, or I gotta wait till I get like that kind of that green screen and then I'll start, instead of just like jumping full on into it. And even in the couple months we've done it, it's been nice to see the evolution happen, you know.
So going on to the whole like, oh well, I wait for another camera, or I gotta wait for the right things, I have to wait for the right that. Oh, like you hummed and hawed about this for a long freaking time too.
I know.
And then there were other situations where like other people wanted to be involved and you were kind of waiting for them, and then they kind of got anxiety about it and backed away, and you're like, well, shit, if they're not here.
Yeah,
Um,
I gotta just start.
and yeah, I kind of like, I mean, I kind of pushed you a bit more than I probably should have, but I don't know if it would have been done if I didn't.
Well, no, and I need that pushing from you and a lot of the other people's in the group, you know.
Yeah, where it's like if you want to do this, do something, it's like you have to do it for yourself. You can't sit there and wait for other people or the right stuff. It's just like my unboxing videos on YouTube, they're not going to be great because we're new at this. And I'm such an awkward panda. And once I come into myself, then it will, it will come naturally to me once I figure out what the hell I'm doing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of what we've been doing all weekend with the drop with Ikoria dropping, is trying to, do YouTube unboxing videos, and like me trying to figure out exactly how I want to do them. And I mess up like my intros and my outros and stuff like that, but in time I won't suck maybe.
I mean, if we go back to the very first podcast in Tiki's basement and passing a mic back and forth and sitting there paper shuffling trying to figure out what we're saying, and then the evolution of where we've been at with quarantine and remote podcasting, the progression into the video and the YouTube side of it. I mean, there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be a
Yeah.
learning curve, and I think it's part of the fun, especially knowing that you record everything, even what doesn't get posted. Shudder for those.
There's a bunch of stuff that's behind the scenes still. That's right.
Yeah, the first one you ever recorded with me as the test. Maybe we'll bust that out for some blooper reels at some point when I
Yeah,
nearly
exactly.
killed you.
Right. Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah, and I think that the unboxing series is going to be fun with Kota, and one of them up is on the channel right now, and then hopefully the second one will be up before even this podcast goes live. Maybe we'll see, and then hope to get Jambrose off and running on some streams, doing some streamy stuff.
I mean, we were just actually before we started recording this, fiddling with camera settings and trying to get a feel for that. It's definitely a skill set that I don't have as much experience with.
Right.
The podcast side of it wasn't too bad. I've still obviously lots of room to grow, but doing all the audio recording I do outside of real life, um, that's natural to me. Video is a whole different ball game. There's a lot more to micromanage, but it's also just a little more intimidating being in front of a camera. Uh,
Yeah, totally.
but
Oh yeah, there's
um,
that constant like, I'm just like, oh, I look like absolute butthole right now, but it's like, meh, whatever. Like, I'll just do it.
but I think once it's set up and running, I'll be much more comfortable with it. It's the I got to make this work, and how do I make it work that I'm not as experienced enough in to do confidently. So that it's just like I feel like I'm fumbling around.
Well,
But
well, pretty much any question you ever have, you can find it on YouTube.
That's right.
the wonders of YouTube.
Yeah,
The
pretty much.
wonders of the platform for sure. Yeah, there is so many little ideas, and the community is so large now with streaming and gaming and all that good stuff that like anything you could possibly think of running into has happened before. and there's probably a video about it because they're like, well, I might as well make some content this week, so I'll write up, I'll talk about what happens when you are, should I be up, like what should I have it be running on, like which settings in OBS, and like what crazy things are going on with my CPU and my GPU and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and even the different streaming or recording platforms, as far as like
Oh gosh,
OBS.
yeah.
Like I used to attempt streaming for games, and I used OBS because the streamers I watched use that. But there's other resources out there for doing it. But we've had a lot of success using OBS for the podcast thus far, and working in video into that's very natural. So um, seems until we go to attach Twitch to it, and then it destroys our YouTube video. But
Well, yeah,
No,
it's just
no, it wasn't actually Twitch. It was Decked Builder. Because when he loaded the second set into Deck Builder.
See, they were still learning.
Yep.
right. We're still learning here. Yeah. So, yeah, and currently our podcasts, if you're listening, um, we've been doing like a Discord group chat, and then I pretty much route all of the audio on my end into OBS, and then I condense that down. It gets recorded into a single file, and then I then upload that into my um, my digital workstation there. I use Reaper for a lot of my editing because it's free. So then I upload that into Reaper, but it's still just a single file that I'm trying to edit.
There's only
And
so
it
much you can
wasn't.
do with that.
I can only do so
Yeah,
much. So
for sure. There's a lot of like, if there's things going on in the background and people are talking over other people, it's really hard to like fix that stuff on a single track. Or if somebody is using a push to talk and not using a headset like they should be at this point, and it's getting the echo as other people are trying to talk, it's just like, oh my gosh. But
and then like when we were in person, I was just doing everything into a 4-channel. It started with a 2-channel, then moved up to a 4-channel interface, so everybody was recorded on their own independent track, and then I could individually set things up. But recently, very recently, the guys at Loading Ready Run, which is another strong YouTube channel that I've been following for a while, but they don't just do Magic the Gathering content; they do a little bit of everything. Those guys, and you might know them if you watch Magic content. They're the group that writes and records the Friday night series that was on the Wizards YouTube channel for so long. It's like Graham Stark and Kathleen and all those guys. Jambrose actually got to see a few of them at PAX East this year, which was super cool before Death Touch 2020 really kicked off.
yeah, and they have
Good old days.
Well, they have like a variety, like a various series and stuff. It's not just the one. It's like they have at least like 3 or 4, I think, right?
Oh yeah, well they have so many small segments. They got everything from like I don't know if they still do Corp Line, but they got the crack shots, and they got obviously they had Tap Concede. They've since split Magic into its own YouTube channel that's affiliated with their main channel, but they did like Tinker Solder no Tinker it's some kind of crazy, it's a play off of they do like paintings and buildings and all this kind of stuff on live stream. Everybody in that thing does like works with their Twitch stuff, and they always stream online games and whatnot and talk to fans and everything. But anyways, so because they're being affected by the self quarantine stuff, they've switched to doing their podcasts and whatnot from home. And Graham, who kind of is like the head of the whole thing, he mentioned Zencaster, which is a audio capturing site, kind of like a Discord, kind of like a Zoom, on that you can use off your browser, and then have people. Basically, it records their audio separately, and then you could download all the people that were a part of their file, their audio track. So we're trying that tonight for the first time. Hopefully the quality is a little bit better than it's been in the past, instead of sending things through varying effects. And it should allow me to then input this into 4 separate channels to equalize and mix in a more appropriate fashion, so we're not talking over each other like crazy. And that was like a godsend, and I love the fact that they put that stuff up there. So the newer people and people who might have a smaller audience or whatever can kind of pull from that and grow as well, you know.
They were really, I mean, I've never been one at PAX to really care about meeting content creators. Like, I'm always, well, I guess that sounds weird because it's all content, but like, I'm always more interested in the games. And so
Right.
I've never gone to panels about YouTube, Twitch people or anything, but meeting them was a blast. They were very fun, very personable. And the best part of it, for that little anecdote, was Alex asked me to meet them and get something signed, and I sat down to do a draft right when I got to PAX, like the very first day, and everyone's shaking hands with this guy, saying hi to this guy. I'm like, oh, he seems kind of famous. And I asked him, and he ended up being part of Loading Ready Run, and it was like, oh, this is awkward. I'm supposed to meet you. Oh, are you a fan? I'm like, I don't actually know what you do, but can you sign something for me? That was Ben, and then I ended up going to their panel and loved it. But I've since picked up and started watching some of their stuff, and it's great. But again, the personality really comes into play there.
When I first started watching them, it was only because Alex is like, "Hey, come watch this," because there's actually a woman on there, and it's Kathleen.
Yep.
And so I started watching them, and it was pretty much just them two, Cam, and another person. And now there's a bunch of them on there. So I don't know like a lot of them either. So I just know like the originals, really.
Yeah, there is so many so many members of Loading Ready Run. It has expanded and their staff has gotten huge. Um, but that original Friday night series, I heard from that again, heard from it originally from the professor because he talked about it back in the day when he had it on like a couple DVDs that he got off of like their website and then was sending that around to friends because it was talking about like a group of people who play in a little Magic community and kind of like us in here in Card Floppers. And then it got put up on YouTube on a more regular basis. And next thing I know, there's like a 40 episode playlist, and I'm watching it regularly because it's so relatable in a casual setting. Like, yeah, they do some stuff with tournaments and going to a Grand Prix and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's just like them hanging out in a house and like how they open packs or they forget like their actual Magic cards. So they got to play with tokens. Like, how the hell are you going to play with tokens today? Because we left the other decks at the moon base. Like there's so many like fun little things that we've similar to like what we've gotten stuck in here at the at our little gaming headquarters when somebody's like, you know what, I don't have any of my decks tonight, so then they got to play something different, or we got to go with a different style of format because we got a weird number of people or something. But it's cool, definitely fun to check out.
Well, if you stop and think about it, in our group, there's 10 people. Like, it's not a small, like, it's only a few people here and there. Like, there's only been probably, what, 6 of us that have actually done the podcast, but there's actually like 10 of us total. It's just other ones don't necessarily have, you know, the jobs that allow them to join in with us as often as we'd like them to.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we started this like a month before self quarantine happened, and that really like put kibosh on some of the people who we would normally see on the Friday night because they were working all week and stuff, and they just everybody's priorities has to change and do things subtly different, but they're still active on the Discord. We still hear them,
Most of them.
Yeah.
most of them. I gotta get Dylan on a podcast. That's what I gotta do.
I'm still impressed with, not to toot our own horn here, but the fact that we went like right into forced exile and we've kept up with this, and it's grown, and we're still learning and trying and doing what we can to improve it, which is fun. I mean, there's so many things in life right now that are just stopped, and I'm glad this hasn't. So
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like what we wanted to talk about tonight, like where we're trying to grow card floppers, and YouTube is just like the next gradual progression to put that podcast on there as well, to keep kind of trying to pump out content on as many places as we possibly can, and keep it alive. And I'm very, very happy for our small Magic community that we got here, cultivated on the outer skirts of this island that we live on. it's pretty rad. It's definitely fun. So
Well, what's going to happen is we're actually like eventually this is all going to lift up eventually, and
right.
we're all going to get into a room together and not know what the hell to do.
Yeah, right.
Well, besides the cringing at post quarantine bods and maybe a group workout sesh before the first live video.
Oh my god.
Jambrose,
Yeah, I
what have you
mean,
been doing over
yeah,
there?
Jambrose, what happened to you, man? Was that not a pack you were opening? Was it a bag of candy or something?
17th. I can't even remember what they're called. The little yellow things with the cream inside. Um,
Bullseyes?
Cowtails? Bullseyes.
no, I was thinking the one from Die Hard, Twinkies. But no, I don't actually eat those. No, it's just I mean, there's so much just sitting around that
Of course. Yeah.
I keep going. I'm gonna get active, and then I don't.
It's
Because,
tough. It's tough times right now, man.
but yeah, it's gonna be interesting when we do get out of Death Touch 2020 and get together for the first time. It's gonna be fun,
Right.
but it's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be weird. Yeah. So where we're not doing any video or anything like that on top of our, or we're not doing any like webcam images of us talking while we're doing this podcast thing. Kota had some ideas for what people might want to see on top of, basically in the video viewer while you're listening to what the podcast is going on. And the first one was definitely a time lapse art recording, right, Kota?
Yeah, so pretty much it would be like I draw something related to the topic of the podcast, whether it's cards that were mentioned in it or people's favorite characters, lore, or whatever, and I do a time lapse speed paint over that, just so it's not just the card floppers logo just chilling there on your screen. Just give something for people to watch while they're listening to us derp around, really.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be super fun. We've done some little tests to send out to the guys. I know Jambrose, you saw
Yep.
at least one of them that she's done. So I think that could definitely work. The other, obviously, the thing with that is it's time consuming for you, Coda, to do that drawing.
Yeah,
But it's not the worst thing.
no, it's not the worst. It would definitely help me get better with my art and more confident, I guess. It's just a matter of like me being able to find the time to do it. I'm like really behind on Mermaid. It was supposed to be Mermagic May, but I only done two, and one of them was just a sketch because I was getting frustrated with it. And it's just even though everything is kind of stopped, like we're still working, trying to get the business ready for when we potentially can open.
Can open, right? Yeah,
And so it's like I'm working all day, and then we still have a kid. She's still around, and and
she's doing wonderful. She's
yeah,
doing really good.
yeah, and so trying to find the time where it's like at the end of the night, it's either like, oh, I have D&D, or oh, we got to do this, or we have openings to do, or we have like we're gonna record the podcast. It's like, oh crap, it's been 2 weeks. We have to do In Exile again, and I'm like I'm not sure when I can draw this week. I'm not sure, but definitely when we can figure out a drawing schedule for me, if this is something that people would like to see, or if you guys would like
Right.
me to do, I definitely need to just be like, okay, like tonight, leave me the f alone. I'm drawing for the YouTubes.
Yeah, and the other I guess idea that kicked around is to do kind of like a just the card floppers like triangle or something, and then maybe if a card is mentioned, I do a pop up of the card when the time is right. That's been a thought before too. It's kind of like the early phases of like what the Command Zone used to do on their YouTube channel, or maybe we could try to get our hands on like even just not a slideshow necessarily, but like a moving image that's just kind
Yep.
of going. Like you see a lot of maybe like an overlay, or if like you're watching Twitch and you see those like gone offline um, images, but it's a moving image or something. We could do something like that. But
We'll just
we want to hear.
we'll just put a bunch of like pictures of beaches on there, just slideshow of beaches. Call it a
Yeah, we'll
lonely
just do.
sandbar.
That's right. Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, exactly. We'll take a lonely sandbar to a sandbar and get a picture of it with it, and then like we'll bring magic cards around to various locations around here and just take pictures of them and then do a slideshow of it. I don't know. Jambrose, do you have any thoughts?
For going on the video side of our YouTube video.
Yeah.
Or a podcast, yeah.
Um, I mean, I think and I don't know if it was explicitly or how detailed the demo footage we got passed around. I really liked. I do like having the artistic side, but that is demanding. I'm almost wondering if like a time lapse of like something would be fun, like if like a deck build just in the background for one of us, or something like fiddling with our magic cards, just something of us, even if it's not relevant to the feed um, or the audio, would
I
be
think that
fun.
could be great. That could be
That
super
could,
cool.
yeah, that could be great. However, if it's cards, it might be a little hard if people want to hyper focus on the cards rather than
Yeah,
what you're saying. That's something that you could probably look out for, because if people are trying to like read the cards, they're not listening to what you're saying.
you mean people have attention problems?
I
Well,
don't
it's
know
like,
what you're
well,
talking about.
it'd be more of like processing two things at once. Like, can you read and listen to people talk at the same time?
Probably not.
Because I sure can't. Like, so, I mean, that's definitely a cool idea though, but that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think we should really go with the time lapse art stuff for right now, and then if other listeners have any ideas, please put them down in the comments below for what we could do in a simplified fashion until we, if we are all back in the same room together, we can do one camera on the four of us discussing something. You know,
Or the background is just Jambrose like situating piles of cards, but like constantly just like moving cards from one pile to another and then back again. Like,
oh my god.
I picked them up and I put them down.
I pick them up
So
and I
you
put
just
them
have to
down.
record. You just have to record like an hour's worth of that, Jambrose, and then
Put it on
send it to me.
loop.
Yeah, we'll just put it on a loop. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's like the stacking cup game, only it's magic cards, and then you have to like just keep moving them around.
It'd be hilarious. All right, and then to kind of give us like a finalized thing to discuss and talk about, we've mentioned some of our channels that we focus on right now, but let's just throw a bunch of other ideas out there for people to listen to. And I'll start off by some other channels that I follow regularly for casual magic content. And that is the Commander's Quarters. Mitch is like one of the newer guys. He does every commander deck on a budget. He's really great. He's got definitely the casual feel. He's not bringing these things to mega events, but he's building very powerful decks that you can potentially explore in your meta for very, very cheap, like the cheapest out there for sure. So Mitch at the Commander's Quarters, that's a great channel. And I also watch a lot, and I'm sure Jambrose, he's going to be like you saying everything that I'm thinking of. But Heroes and Legends is another channel that I follow on a regular basis, and that's more of the market watch if you're interested in seeing how your collection is doing or seeing what cards out there are gaining or losing a ton of value because of the current metas of the competitive formats and that kind of stuff. That's a channel that's great for them. So those are kind of like my big guys. Like I said, the Good Luck High Five. I'm really into the Commander's Quarters, and that Heroes and Legends is just, those are awesome. Those are probably my top three to kind of pay attention to on a regular basis for me.
Jambrose, do you have any?
Um, I don't know that I really honestly can say I like the content, but I've done a lot of um, alpha investments recently.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I saw a video of him and the professor actually playing Magic together at a con, and I was just like, "This is ridiculous." But uh, I don't have that kind of value in cards. I don't have that kind of history with it. I play the game, and he doesn't seem to. But um, it was enlightening, I guess, to have that focus be on the value more than the gameplay. Like he never goes into why there's price changes. He doesn't go into like the decks that are causing these fluctuations. He's just like, here's all these cards I bought and here's what I'm going to sell them for, or older stuff. And like, I mean, opening the older things is fun to watch, and that's probably what sucks me in more than him or anything else. But
Right.
for some reason I've watched more of that than content I think I actually enjoy. So something there is working.
What else?
The there's in quarantine life a lot more arena play, and there's a couple. I want to say YouTube, but probably Twitch. There's content creators that I've been watching. Taffy Toe Claws, Tabby, Taffy. She somehow claims that she's a dinosaur. She was on one of the Command Zone group nights playing as a guest, and so I got linked to her content. And very interesting, very down to earth. Reminded me of like a person I went to college with. Um, but nice to see kind of like run of the mill arena player. Very little physical Magic play, but it's current, it's standard, it's interactive. Um, and then there was one when Ikoria previews were starting. Magic kind of ferreted out all of their kind of bigger name people to do some of the previews, and I found another arena person, Amazonian, which I want to say her name's Amy, but she was very interactive, like for the live stuff, uh, chatting with fans. Like I asked a couple questions and actually had like an interaction with her, which was fun, and that really sucked me in real fast. So I watch her
Yeah.
on kind of like probably almost a daily basis, play a couple games of Arena. I don't watch her all day; she's on most of the morning, but um, I like feeling like I matter as a fan. So
Mhm.
that was a very quick connection there, which was nice.
Nice. Kota, do you have any that you want to mention or talk about? Even though we know this is not your strong suit, the amount of Magic channels that you follow.
I follow a gamer who occasionally does unboxings, but it's not his primary source of YouTube. That's really about it.
Well, who's that?
It is TagBackTV, actually. I have never watched his unboxings, but found him when I was really into Ark Survival Evolved. He did the Mutation Zoo and the Hatchenings is what he called them, and he would just like hatch a bunch of dinosaurs. And he's now currently playing like Animal Crossing, Final Fantasy VII, Legend of Zelda. I've been watching him play those games, but other than that, I don't follow any Magic the Gathering people. I mostly just watch people play Ark Survival Evolved.
So to kind of to I'll just do like another blanket list of other YouTube content creator people that are good for Magic the Gathering. Maybe
Command
not like
Zone.
the Command Zone, right? The Command Zone is a YouTube channel that specifically focuses on Commander, but they're great. They do everything from games to set reviews and things like that. We talked about Tap Concede, which is the podcast that is focused on Magic through Loading Ready Run. There's also North 100, which focuses on Highlander content, but it does a great overview of cards and evaluating cards. And those are fun. If you're interested in the more competitive showcase for stuff, Playing with Power is an incredible freaking channel where it's all competitive commander decks, and it is insane how fast they win. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And
Um,
you
oh, one I kind of spaced on, though that's not actually the right name. Um, there was a channel that I watched before I discovered the Command Zone, which I really liked. But they I don't know the name, which channel it was, but all their videos were just like a top down of the table, playing Commander. It's probably one of the ones
Is
you
it
just mentioned.
well? Is it Mudsta?
Maybe.
There's MTG Mudsta, which is like it begins with a goblin on the screen, and the guy has a very nice monotone kind of voice. He's like, "Hey gang, Mudsta here." This week. Anyway, so there's that one. There's like the Spike Feeders, which is one that like Tiki watches. I know for sure. There's also Commander's Brew, which they're fun because they do like images of themselves with the top down of everybody, and they do some fun skits and stuff. And yeah, playing with power. There's a lot of them out there. There's so much Magic the Gathering content out there. It's nuts.
I think I really like the for gameplay, like the top down. Like I enjoy what uh Command Zone does with interacting with the actual people, but
Right.
I think the ones I end up watching more of are just the table, the cards, and maybe with a nice like narration of something that, like when we did one of our first game videos, just like cutting out all the dead space and narrating over, so you know what's going on without having to sit there and watch someone shuffle their deck for 20 minutes. But uh, just to see the gameplay and feel like I'm kind of a part of it more than looking at some dude or some woman, uh, I think I enjoy that more. And so those are the ones that I've, outside of deck building, I've been doing a lot of.
Right.
I should probably get better at names, but I'm kind of bad at that.
Excuse me. Lots of coughing going on in here.
The Rona.
No, not at all. Yeah, but it's easy because you can subscribe to them, or they just pop up on your feed, and you know to go to them. So if you're not really into it, their name is not necessarily the biggest thing that you need anymore, depending on what algorithm you're in. For sure, once they found you, you're in.
Yeah, pretty much you search Magic the Gathering once, guaranteed it's going to come up on your YouTube, like suggested lists.
Oh yeah, and you can find anything out there. It's crazy. There's so much content. It's nice, and we hope to be a part of it. So thank you everyone for being with us here for this episode of the Card Floppers podcast. If you are listening and haven't yet, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure if you're listening to us on the YouTube channel and you haven't, make sure to click that like and subscribe button, and follow any of our links that are down listed below in the comments wherever you found this content. And thank you so much for listening, and we hope everybody's doing great out there, or not great, but good. Hope everybody's doing good out there in this self-quarantine time, and they're staying positive. They are playing Magic to the best of their abilities, however they can possibly play. And if you can't for some reason, at least you're checking out content and you're staying within the community, because everybody is just trying to hang in there together for sure. And thank you to Kota and Jambrose for joining me tonight, and we'll catch you next time. Jambrose, are you cracking packs right now?
No.
Yes.